Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Challenge podcast. I am back for another video. And today we're talking about 8 passengers again. I've done a couple of videos about them in the past. But after my video with Sloan, I just got to thinking about how I hate when people are bullied. And how it happened to me as an ex-pastor, how I told you about my homemade church would send a high-priced lawyer after me, and it's kind of scary and you can't fight it because you don't have a lot of money. And so I wanted to figure out a little bit more about this family. So I wanted to dive a little deeper. I found a couple of Reddit sites. I found a couple of videos I watched, and I just want to uncover a few things, but let's recap everything before we get into it. Okay. So here's Ruby, and Ruby is kind of although she didn't start this whole family vlogging network of crazy Mormons, she is the biggest one of them all. Okay. So if you didn't know anything about 8 Passengers, we'll start there. 8 Passengers has 2.4 million subscribers, which is insane. And still can't afford a logo because this is their logo. I've offered before and I'll offer again. 8 Passengers, I know I don't like you very much. I mean, your kids are awesome. But reach out. I will do a free logo for you. It'll take me 5 minutes and it'll look way better than your logo. Just saying. That is the worst logo ever, and I will not let it go as a graphic designer. Anyway, so, okay, it needs to be said that the reason people watch this tripe is not because of Ruby. They watch it because of her kids, right? And so that's why these family vloggers are huge. Mike and James with the adoption, people who struggle with fertility, they get massive views. These things are huge. Having babies, naming babies. Babies is a huge industry on YouTube. I might go get pregnant to mess with this algorithm and figure this out because they make people a lot of money. But there's a price, and they don't pay it. Their kids pay it. Because their kids are literally shown online for everybody to see their entire lives. Okay? That's the price they pay. And nobody has really seen the ramifications of this because it's only been 15 years. YouTube's only been around for 15 years. And family vlogging only started popping in the last, 5 years. So we don't even know what the ramifications are going to be like in the future. Now, Ruby wants to be the star, but she's not the star. She's always on the camera. She's the one that's doing everything. But it's her kids, and she exploits her family for YouTube views. Now, what she does is not typically insane. I don't think she goes overboard like Micah and James and rehoming an adopted kid. But she's literally crazy about her punishments and her parenting style. She treats her kids like tenants and not like kids to be protected, right? Some of her videos she talks about this is, this is your room, I let you stay in, and she takes their stuff because they didn't clean it up and she sells it back to them, and just some crazy stuff. As parenting goes, there's not much to judge there. She's not doing anything crazy. The way she's talking, it just means that she's different, right? So I don't want to diminish the things that she says, but I don't think it's abuse like people say. She's just kind of chachi. There's no other word for this person, okay? She's just not everybody's cup of tea. Not necessarily means she's bad. She's one of those people that just I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You do you, I do me, and I'm going to go with it. And then but you put your life out there to see, and people are going to comment. And so we talked about the thing that blew up for her, I think the big downfall, well, there's no downfall. Well, the big hiccup for the 8 Passengers was the video where she talks about how her 5-year-old forgot her lunch. She's sitting in the car saying, I really hope someone doesn't give her lunch. Let's watch that video together.
I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch. And it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch. But I responded and just said, Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, so the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry.
The audacity of this lady. I know this is what did it, and at first I wasn't I was like, it's not such a big deal. But she's saying here, the teacher reached out to me and said, look, we're concerned she's not eating, everybody else is eating, she's probably hungry, and she's like, well, I responded to her and said, well, that's just too bad. This woman is evil. She's just cocky about how evil she is. She's definitely a Disney villain. She's not a villain. She doesn't rob people and kill, but she's a Disney villain. The one that's not so bad, but you're I don't like her at all. Kind of just a Disney villain. Not feeding your kid. I at first I didn't care because it's just one time, but then I looked at this, and then I looked at my 5-year-old who's in the other room, in the theater room right now watching his movies. And I think to myself, if I relied on my 5-year-old to make his own lunch, basically he'd only eat gummies. The teachers would call me and be like, your kid is going to get diabetes because all he eats is candy. And it did affect me as I looked at him and I said, okay, he's 5. I guess apparently she might be 6 or something like that. But if he's left to his own devices, he wouldn't do this and he wouldn't be able to do it. And so she's trying to teach a 5-year-old to live like an adult, it's kind of icky, right? It's Disney villain, right? It's Cinderella. It's everybody else who all the kids, they treat her, she treats this little girl wrong for a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old gets so much love and attention, and so should all your kids. But this 5-year-old needs that, right? 5-year-olds thrive with this, and she's like literally trying to teach her life lessons at 5. If you're 5, the only life lesson you really need to know is like, don't poop your pants, okay? Stop touching your wiener, and stop picking your nose. Those are some good life lessons, okay? But like making your lunch and forgetting it and then not eating is a fail, and I agree with you all on that one. And so here's the thing. If you're going to be a YouTube yummy mummy mom influencer, okay, then why don't you be a good influence? These people are watching you and saying, oh, she does that, so that sounds right. Yeah, that 5-year-old didn't deserve a lunch. What a douche, right? That's not what's happening. She's an influencer, so why don't you just set a good example? Stop being a ninny hammer. Then we talked about Chad. Chad is basically their moneymaker. Chad's the good-looking dude. He's 15. The girls love him. He's outgoing. He's funny. And Chad is their main draw to their channel. As soon as Chad leaves for university, this channel is gonna fall apart. Like, apparently Ruby said that she doesn't want any of her kids living with her when they turn 18. And I don't know if you knew this, Ruby, but that's the reason you make money. It's not your husband who's on there for like 2 videos, who only comes out when he needs to, mitigate disasters that you've created. It's your kids. They watch it for your kids. I think there was one behind me there for a second. So Chad is let's talk about Chad a little bit. So he did this video here where he's talking about how he has no friends. Ruby's sitting there playing with her fake eyelashes. I just can't, it just bothers me, those eyelashes. And he's talking about how he has no friends. But he's saying it from a point like he doesn't have friends because he doesn't make friends. He's saying, I don't want these friends in my life because these insane Mormon standards that they have to live up to. They're fundamentalist Mormon people, okay? We're going to get into that again a little bit later about why are these channels Mormons? What? Why? And so he lives this in a fundamental Christian lifestyle, which I grew up in too. I know what it's like, right? But he's a normal teenager with normal teenager issues, going through puberty, he loves girls. But Ruby treats him like he killed a man. And like everything he does is blown out way out of proportion. Now, mind you, the thing with his brother hanging from a basketball net, if my 14-year-old did that to my 5-year-old, I'd be pissed. Okay, yeah, he'd be grounded for probably a week or 2. Books and food only, right? No Netflix, nothing, right? But 7 months? I know he played a prank on him with the Disney thing, which is kind of funny. And if my kid did that, it wouldn't be a 7-month punishment. I'd probably laugh. But apparently he relentlessly bullies his brother. So Chad, if you're listening, stop being a douche, man. You're a young kid. I get it. You want to have fun, but your mom's kind of right with the whole relentlessly bullying your brother, but she was not right to ground you for 7 months and make you sleep on a beanbag. And so they did this video where they came out and said, where's Chad? Because Chad was missing. And they sent him off to this Anastasia camp, which is basically one of those camps that you send for fundamental Christians or Mormons, where you send your kid to be scared straight or whatever it is. It's a behavioral changing camp, and I do believe it's a conversion therapy camp for gay people too. Which is like that's another video. Stop doing that, okay? Like as a person who is conservative, was a pastor and a Christian believer, conversion camps are a fail. Stop doing it, and we'll do a video on that another day. But they didn't tell us the whole story, so we don't know exactly why he went there. Behavioral issues for sure. I think there's something with text messaging and some girls and all that stuff, and that can get pretty dangerous for a parent of a teenager who has a kid who's might possibly be receiving underage photos of girls, and that literally means that your teenager is in possession of child P, which is it's illegal. It's a federal offense for both parties to send it, and we talked about that before. So I get that needs to be a serious conversation and a talk. And if he's unwilling to relent on that and he just doesn't matter, then maybe that's all they had to do. So I can't say what they did was wrong, but getting back and then grinding him for another 7 months, I don't know. It just felt like overkill, big time overkill. And so whatever this guy does going forward and makes a mistake, these damning punishments don't seem to be working. So maybe you need to figure something else out. And that's something I learned in therapy with my kids. It's like, look, grinding them for 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever it is, it ain't working. Figure something else out. And it is hard as a parent of a teenager who has behavioral issues. I do get it. And so, but you do have to try to figure out something else. And we are getting there. And we're learning. I'm learning as a dad too, as a parent of teenagers, that sometimes you got to when your kid comes to you with something and they're finally admitting something, the way that you react is going to mean everything for when they come to you next. Right? And so the way she reacts to their behavioral issues means that they're not coming to her for anything when there's issues. They're just waiting to get caught. And when they do, S hits the fan, right? So they made this video where her husband comes on and they went to this camp, and apparently they sometimes have to take the kid out of the home because if they have a choice to make, they won't go. Kids should be able to have a choice whether or not they want to go to conversion therapy camps. right? Should not force your kid to go to these things. Like, kind of depending on the behavior, right? Okay, so if your kid is violent and other things, you can always make an argument for something. But something tells me Chad didn't deserve to go to this crazy camp where he slept on the hard ground in a tent for months and months and months. Although something also tells me maybe he got something good out of it too, so that maybe something good did come from it, but you shouldn't force a kid to do something they don't want to do. Meaning, like, I'm not, but I mean on a higher level on these big life-changing decisions. Like, you're still a parent, you should still get to make the calls specifically on what your kid does, what sports they play and what they're in and all that stuff. I do get that. So it is a kind of back and forth thing here. That one really hits me. And so then someone calls him out for taking the kid's door off his bedroom. He didn't sleep in a bedroom for 7 months, and then takes the door off the bathroom. Now, I'm guilty of taking my door off my teenager's bedroom. And just because it was an issue that I'm not going to talk about because it's not my story. Well, it's our story to tell, but I don't want to like give it out to the world, right? So there are, again, an argument can be made for everything. But the bathroom door, just on a hygienic level, like if this guy's taking a deuce, there's poop. Like, it's going to be everywhere. Let him have a bath. Why would you take the bathroom door off? If you're scared about your kid, rubbing one out, he's a 15-year-old boy. That's what they do. Are you trying to stop that from happening? If that's the case, parents, listen to me, please. Your kids are going to do it. Okay, your boys specifically are going to do the 5-finger shuffle. It's going to happen. You can talk to them about it, exploring their body. It's a beautiful thing. Stop shaming your kids into thinking that this is a bad thing, okay? Because it's not. And so the only reason I could see Ruby taking a bathroom door off is because she didn't want him doing that, which is like, it's icky to think about it itself, right? That's just gross. But why else would you take a bathroom door off? Kid, what if he's taking a dump, someone walks by, oh, hey, Chad, he's taking a dump. Like, that's gross. She's definitely exploiting Chad online a lot. And when he leaves, the channel's going to when her kids leave, their channel's gone. Like, who's going to watch Ruby try to not cook? It's like dumb. She's terrible. And she wears weird clothes and I don't like her. I don't feel like if I was at like a work barbecue and her husband and she started talking to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, really nice. And I'd be like trying to get out of there ASAP. Like, I'm like, I don't want to talk. Like, I get that vibe. Like, I don't want to, like, she tries to be conversational, but you're like, this person is weird and I got to get out of here. And she probably has bad breath. So I just want to, but anyway, Chad, if you're watching this, blink twice in your next video or wear a yellow shirt if you need help and we'll reach out for you. Just saying. So I'm gonna get into the same video where she talks about her kids' personal lives. Sick, they're crying, sex talks, acne, periods, shaving your legs and everything else. I mean, if that happened to me in high school, I would have been relentlessly bullied into oblivion. Like, maybe they go to like a fundamentalist Mormon private school. Maybe they're famous and it helps them get around that. But that is just gross. How many predators use this channel as their preferred place to go to watch this stuff? That's the grossest part about this. Predators are watching this. Your little girl shaving her legs in the bathtub. It's gross. Shopping for bras. I will never, ever, ever condone the personal things. If you want to talk about your kids in a family vlog to a degree where you're like, here's what we're eating. Cool. Here's our favorite snacks. Cool. Little Tyke learns to ride a bike. Cool. But exposing their most personal things like puberty and sex talks and all the trouble they get into in their behavioral issues should be a no-go from here on out. Like, let's make that not a thing anymore. Let's say, hey, that video you put out where you talk about your kids, that's not cool. Like, let's not watch that. Okay, so that's probably what you have to do. And so one thing that really gets to me and a lot of people is that it's not that she's terrible at what she's not done anything reprehensible, like beyond like cancelable as far as I'm concerned. I don't think they need to be canceled. I just think she needs to dial it back on the crazy invasion of privacy on her kids. But what people are pissed about is she just doesn't want to acknowledge that anything she's done is wrong. And so she's sitting in the top of the world in this 2.4 million subscriber YouTube world where she makes a lot of money, okay? This is everything. He makes tons of money, and so does her family. And she says, no, what we're doing is right. We've spoken to psychologists. When we sent Chad away, the first thing they did was take his bed away. So must be cool to do that. Like, come on. Conversion therapy is like one of the hardest things that any kid should never go through, but they go through. Conversion is meant to be like the worst thing ever. So she's like, well, they did it, so it's cool that we do it. No, why is the worst thing you could do to someone cool so you do it? I don't get her logic there.
I didn't anticipate all the upset. However, listening to all of your comments and...
You can't listen to comments. You can read them, unless you're like the computer's reading them to you. But you probably read them, right?
Feedback. I think I understand where some people are coming from. They're like, oh, the parents don't give their kids beds. And I totally agree with that.
But?
I know there are lots of children out there whose parents are neglectful. We got accused of child...
You didn't finish the sentence. You agreed that that's not cool, and yet you just didn't finish the sentence. Okay.
When we sent Chad to Anasazi, guess what? The first thing that they did was take a bed away. They don't have beds. So Chad slept on the hard ground for months, and it's run by psychologists and therapists, and if not...
It's these psychologists and therapists running Anastasia. Please reach out to me. I think you're doing it wrong, and I'm not a child psychologist or therapist. You think that taking a kid's bed away and making them live in the wilderness is good? I'm not sure of the success rate. And if any parents out there have ever sent their kid to Anastasia, or if there's a kid out there who's gone to this camp, reach out to me, because I want to talk about this camp a little bit more.
Having a bed was psychologically damaging, then they wouldn't have suggested that.
You're dumb. Sorry. That's dumb. So she's unapologetic. She sits there in her cockiness and is like, for all you people who called us out for being terrible parents, well, I agree with you. Cut. But she didn't cover the issues. She only covered like the glaring issue, but not the other ones. She just doesn't care. Right? She's like, whatever, I'm too big for this. This brings me to the crux of this whole video, is that she just gets to use her wealth to shut down any dissenting opinions by using high-priced, expensive lawyers. And I've Googled who their lawyers are. No one is going to tell me who they are. I've reached out to everybody. No one wants to talk about it. Okay, so as I was doing this video, I got a message about who their lawyers were. And it's Laveley and Singer, attorneys. And they are, let's go to their profile. Professional Corporation, one of the world's premier talent-side entertainment litigation firms. These lawyers are some of the best in the industry. There's literally a Vanity Fair article on Marty Singer, who has like, oh my goodness, they've got, let's go here. Hollywood lawyer Marty Singer can make any problem go away except Bill Cosby's. That's what the Vanity Fair throws. So this guy was he represented Bill Cosby. So if you got to go to a lawyer who represents Bill Cosby, who everybody knew was like the grossest person alive, you know that this guy's a shark. He knows his onions. He's probably one of the most prolific entertainment lawyers in the world. He's got Vanity Fair writing about him. A ballroom full of household names: John Travolta, Scarlett Johansson, Charlie Sheen, Jonah Hill, will swear there's no one in Hollywood like Marty Singer. Holy cow. This is why people don't want to mess with this dude. This guy looks straight gangster. I wouldn't mess with him either, but I'm Canadian, so they can't send me a letter. Well, they can send me a letter, but there's nothing they can do about it. So you get a letter from one of these guys from this firm, I get why you're scared. And so that's kind of what the crux of this video is all about. You're talking about this high-priced lawyer firm that probably $1,000 an hour represents some of the highest paid, most prolific actors in the industry. And this family vlogging channel is using them to scare the crap out of everybody else. I think there's other YouTubers out there who have got these letters and they're just not messing with it. They're not messing with it. And so this is crazy. But let's take a deeper look into the network of this family, okay? This isn't just Ruby and her non-existent husband with a phone making millions. Let's dive in, okay? So first we got the matriarch, which is Grandma and Grandpa Griffiths. I'm going to read off this page here. Basically, she makes delicious-looking food and talks like she's speaking to a 2-year-old who won't listen. She has 164,000 subs and over 14 million views. Like, I didn't watch any of her videos because I don't want to, but like, those cookies better be good for that price, okay? She makes a lot of money. She's probably retired. Mormon, obviously. Then we have Ruby & Co., 2.4 million subs, 1,126,000,000 views. If you don't think that that's worth protecting with a high-priced lawyer, you're wrong. That's why they have this lawyer. They can afford it. And that's a lot of money made off the backs of her kids. And so, fake eyelashes and ugly clothes do not attract that many viewers. Sorry. So then we have the Griffiths life. I didn't watch it because it looks super boring. But they have 63,000 subs and over 4 million views. Now, this is Ruby's brother, and that's his claim to fame. So he puts it in his title, like, Ruby's brother. Okay. Cool. And that's why it's crazy. Just mention that you're part of their family and you can make money on YouTube. It's just, this is how powerful this family is. We're kind of uncovering this and the puzzle pieces are falling together. Then there's the Daru crew. 210,000 subs and 40 million views. Now, a cursory glance shows these people to be the most vanilla Wonder Bread people ever. Just super scripted, super fake. It's blah. It's like, oh yeah, this is nice. No, it's not. Oh, you're like, oh yeah, this is not something I'd ever watch. But when you eat something at a friend's house and they didn't put any like spices or salt on it, and you're like, oh, thanks for this, and you're eating it, and you're like secretly like, I gotta get out of here, and you're gonna like stop and you're like thinking of the Baconator you're gonna get at Wendy's on your way home because you can't be rude to them because they made you dinner, but they don't know how to cook and they didn't use salt. Like, salt and pepper, people. That's all I'm saying. Then there's Ellie and Jared, and this is their opening video blurb.
Welcome to the greatest video on the entire internet.
Do they all share a same music account? I hate that style of music. Stop with the... Oh, gee. They all have one subscription to this account wherever they get the music, and they all share it, and that's illegal. I don't know if you knew that. You have to license that stuff properly. Anyway, they're boring, and I'm not going to watch their videos either. Then we get into Bonnie Helloing. I don't know how to say her name. She's the third biggest channel next to Ruby's franchise, which is 1.34 million subs, 736 million views. The same tripe. It's fake eyelashes and exploitation of her kids for views. It's super boring. I don't know why do people watch this? What am I missing? Like, I like to think I have good taste in what I'm watching. Why do people watch this garbage? It's not funny. There's no jokes. There's nothing. What is it here that people are watching? Someone in the comments, please tell me why you watch this stuff. And so there it is. If you don't think this family has YouTube clout, you're dead wrong, okay? They have lawyers, a big pool of money that I'm sure that they all get together and say, they probably hire these lawyers as a family. They probably pool their money so they can protect themselves from lawsuits or sue people and send cease and desist letters. That's a $3,000 or $4,000 cease and desist letter some of these people are getting. That's not cheap. And they will use their money and their clout and everything in their resources to protect their brand. Because yeah, maybe the lawyer costs $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year, but they're making millions. And so it's worth every penny for them, right? And so they can do that. And so all told, this family has a combined 57 million subscribers, 2,803 million views. Now you see why people shudder when they get a cease and desist letter from this firm. This crazy, expensive firm that Hollywood elites use. And so here's what it is. It's not worth it for small-time YouTubers to fight this. I mean, they're probably going to win the lawsuit because you're not going to win against using fair use policies on YouTube. If you call someone a name, I'm not sure you can be sued for, I'm not sure you could win in court for calling someone a name. I'm not sure there's precedent for that. But that's basically, if you're calling out the truth and you're just using their videos to commentate, I think you're covered. But I mean, what's the point in fighting using $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to fight off a video you're going to make $250 off of? It's just not worth it, and they bank on that, right? And so my church did this to me, and my lawyer told me this, is that people will frivolously sue people, even though they know they won't win, because they know it ties up a bunch of money, ties up a bunch of time, and scares the crap out of people. They know they probably won't win, but they just do it anyway. And that shouldn't be allowed. Somebody eventually is going to countersue one of these people, and I hope it happens. So using your white privilege, your advantage, your wealth to bully people, to continue to be wealthy is a narrative for our real life. This is how the world works. The richer you are, the more protected you are, the more you get, the more protections you have. And the less time you're ever going to spend in jail, less time you're going to get. No one's going to sue them. The more high-priced lawyers you can hire, the better off you are. You live in this hill and you're protected from it all. But not if you live in Canada, because you can't sue me for libel. You can try, but you're not going to be able to. And so I do this video not just to piss them off or whatever, and not to just, and I don't even think that they need to be canceled, and I said that earlier. The narrative here is that we need to figure out how to protect kids on YouTube. Up to the age of, like, I almost want to say, like, let's do 13, 14 maybe. You don't have to go to 18 or whatever as an adult. But there's got to be something here. What Ruby's doing is not the worst thing you can do as a parent, okay? There's other grosser people out there. She's not good, and her kids are definitely going to probably hate her later. But see, I've lived through way worse than what her kids are going through. So when I look at it, I'm like, it's not so bad. But to other people, it could be worse for them, right? But what the world sees, and I think is done with, is this exploitation of kids. Like, something here is shifting. And, no matter what kind of high-priced lawyers you get and everything else, you can sue and copyright strike as many people as you want. But eventually people are going to stop watching this because they're like, I'm over this. Like, there's nothing here. Like, can a family vlogger come out and just do comedy or do something fun and do parodies? Like, maybe there are some and I don't know, but maybe do that. Have fun with it. Stop uncovering every temper tantrum, every zit, every part of their life that they go through, and start just doing a little bit surface stuff. This other stuff is gross. How do we lobby YouTube and Facebook and all these social media platforms to say, stop doing this? Like the Daniel Cohn thing. Stop allowing kids who are underage, who cannot truly consent to being there, stop monetizing it, right? That's ultimately the answer here. And I said this at the beginning, we're not going to see the damage that this is inflicting on these kids until way later. YouTube is 15 years old. YouTube vlogging is relatively new. And we're not going to see the ramifications till these kids get older. And you're going to see this all come out later. They're going to say, oh, they're going to have all these books and all these videos come out and say the truth about what went down in my family and all these kids. And at the time, everybody made money off it. And later on, these kids are damaged. We're going to wait till it's too late. That's the problem. Okay? And so this isn't just a video about throwing shade or tea or whatever drama. It's literally about uncovering these types of channels to say, like, look at this family. So when one hits, they all hit. And they all use that. And just like, oh, they all be part of each other's videos and they all make tons of money off of kids. The problem here is off of kids. And that's what needs to stop. And so here's what you can do. Stop watching. Stop subscribing. Unsubscribe. Do what you have to do with your social currency. Also, reach out to their sponsors in their videos, because this worked for Micah and James Stauffer's cancellation, is that you say, look, they're advertising your product on their channel, and I think based on this evidence here about how terrible she is and how bad of an influence she is as a mother, you should probably not, you should probably distance yourself. That tends to work with advertisers, right? And so what you do is you take away these people's ability to make money, and they are forced to then figure out a different way. And that other way is not exploiting their kids. And that would be the greatest thing ever. So there's a couple things you can do right off the top. If you know a politician, you can lobby them, and you can bring these people, these social media giants, in front of Congress and ask the real questions. Why do you allow underage kids on your platform to be monetized? And they know they are. And then ask them real questions. That's how you do this. I'll likely get a copyright strike from this video. That's okay. And I'll fight it because it's fair use. And YouTube has fair use policies. And if you follow their policies, you should be able to live by their standards and you should be protected, right? I'd love to get a cease and desist letter from their overpriced, insanely expensive lawyers. Still looks like a guy I wouldn't want to mess with anyway. And they can deliver it to Frigid Canada all they want, right to my door if they'd like. Ruby and Frank, if you want to spend $3,000 to $5,000 writing me a letter, I'm happy to receive it. I'll get it and I'll read it here. Ruby and Company, if you're watching this, the internet is shifting. Why don't you get on board, get your kids off these channels, wait till a little older to consent. Ruby, you've got a couple older kids. They could probably consent now. Family vlogging is coming down. And you're going to see it hard. And it's just because of a few who are going to bring down everybody else. But that's okay. Because in the end, this stuff isn't even good. Maybe there's a couple out there. I've yet to see one that's really that I'm like, oh, I love this. So maybe just make some good stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe people are pissed because you make garbage. So stay tuned to the next video where I talk about why the hell are these people all Mormons or Christians or use that religious platform in their family. They're all that way. Something tells me they're not all that way, behind the camera. In front of the camera they are. But what is it about these Mormons and the main perpetrators of all these channels? And what does the Book of Mormon have to say about this? Because I don't really know. But I'll ask Joe Smith and we'll talk about it, because maybe I'll start diving into it. I know a bunch of ex-Mormons who want to talk about this type of stuff. Mormon culture has a lot to do with this. So let's figure it out. Let's talk about it together. And like and subscribe or don't, whatever. You don't care. You're my therapy. And we need to keep talking about these types of people, because otherwise they get to just do whatever they want and get away with it all and use high-priced lawyers to just shut down descending comments and descending content. And I'm not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let them continue to bully people, because that's not cool, right? If you want to put your entire world out there for everybody to see, this is part of it. I get hate too. This is part of it. So if you don't like it, there's the door.